Hey, Cole Younger here. Drummer, drum set instructor, 512 band director. Just got done with a Skype lesson about jazz drumming, and I felt compelled to do a quick little appreciation post slash product review and demo of some of my favorite Zildjian cymbals that I like to use for jazz. I've been playing Zildjian cymbals for my whole drumming career for over 25 years, simply because that's the brand that I always saw out there being played by my own drumming heroes. And they've never let me down. Zildjian's always been there. And if you're looking for some new pies for your setup, I encourage you to check them out. So just want to take you through my jazz setup. These are the cymbals that I use for any small group situation all the way up to playing with a big band. They're very versatile musical cymbals. I love them. And I'll take you through them here really quickly from my left to my right. Starting with my hats. Over here on the left, I've got some 13-inch Armand series hi-hats. Looks like this. Unfortunately, they don't make these anymore. They stopped making them back in 2012, but boy, I love the Armand series hi-hats and cymbals altogether. The Armand cymbals were meant to harken back to the vintage cymbals the vintage A cymbals that Zildjian made back in the early 60s and before. So these were like what you would have heard on all the old big band recordings with Basie and Ellington and Buddy Rich and some of the like all the small group stuff too, with the Oscar Peterson trio and Kinda Blue, Miles Davis, and the early rock stuff. These are just, they have that timeless classic sound. And another neat thing about the Armand cymbals is they are very much a mixture of the darker K cymbals and the brighter A cymbals. So they're kind of right in the mid-range there, which lends them very well to playing with jazz, but any style of music. They're just very musical. They're thinner than your modern A's. They have a really, really pronounced foot chick due to the 13-inch size. You can't beat the foot chick that you get from 13-inch hi-hats, by the way. And they also have a really nice stick sound and a really sweet shimmer when you play them loose, right? So let me just give you a little demo of what these guys sound like here. I'll just play them with the foot first by themselves. Nice, crisp chick, right? And then if I play them with some time here, very pronounced. You can still hear them. I'm going to do like a bassy thing. Nice stick sound. If we open them up for like a two feel. A lovely sizzle on those things. I love them. 13-inch Zildjian Armand hi-hats. Okay, moving over here to my next piece of pie on the left side. This is a 19-inch Kerope cymbal, not a crash, not a ride. It does it all, baby. And it's a beautiful piece of bronze right there. These Kerope cymbals are meant to emulate the sound and the look of the old hand-hammered Turkish K Zildjian cymbals, which are so hard to find these days. They're either in a museum or locked up in somebody's vault. But these Keropes, they sound and look just like them. They've got a very, very low, flat profile. As you can see, a small bell. That gives them a very low pitch and very pronounced stick sound, which is awesome to have in a jazz setting. And the smaller bell keeps the volume down, which is nice. You don't totally overpower the people you're playing with. I especially like that. Having it over here on my left side makes a very great light ride that I can play in like softer volume ensemble settings or behind a soloist. It works especially well. And it's just a beautiful, dark, lush crash. Also, let me just play you some time on it first, just by itself with nothing else so you can hear what it sounds like. Very nice stick sound, very nice sustained low pitch. Here's the bell, pretty integrated, not piercing or anything like that, but it still pops. course, the bell, right? And then, of course, the crash. A beautiful crash for any situation, right? Okay, moving over here to my right side. This is my meat and potatoes ride, a 21-inch K-Custom special dry ride. It's marketed as a ride, but much like the Kerope over there, this thing also does it all. It crashes, it rides. It's a wonderfully musical instrument, which is why I really like it. Not to mention, these things just are gorgeous cymbals, right? Look at that. Got that spiral lathing on there. You can see the shiny strips there when I hold it up to the light. That's where they've gone around this thing with a lathe and they've scraped off the crust that forms on these cymbals when they bake them in the oven, right? But they've left a lot of that crust on here, which dries up the sustain, easy for me to say, and gives it a very pronounced stick sound. However, it's not too dry, courtesy of the fully lathed backside. Look at that. Whew. Lots of dry cymbals don't have a fully lathed backside, but these guys do, which I really like. It lets it open up for crashes and gives it just a beautifully lush, dark, trashy wash. That trashiness comes from all those clusters of overhammering that you can see there. Really gives it a nice, musically complex sound. And the one other thing with mine, I had the guys at Memphis Drum Shop put 3 rivets in here, 3 rivet cluster, which I just love to have rivets in my main jazz ride, just to add a little extra sustain and sparkle. So once again here, I'll play this one for you, just by itself first, so you can hear what it sounds like. Very pronounced stick sound, very complex, lush wash. Sounds kind of complex, like very complex by itself, right? But when you put it with some other instruments, it really blends nicely, but you still retain that stick sound, which is very important. Clarity is so important when you're playing in a jazz band, right? Here's the bell. So, again, not overpowering, not an ice cream truck, you know, piercing bell, but enough that it does cut. You can play some nice accents there. If you're doing maybe a Latin thing or a funk chart, works really well for that. And again, the crash on this, pretty surprisingly nice for a dry cymbal, right? Lots of dry cymbals feel really hollow and they don't give you much for a crash. I think this one does. See what you think. Not bad, right? I mean, the rivets help too, but still a pretty darn good crash, in my humble opinion. Okay, moving over here to my far right, the governor, as Buddy Rich called his. This is a 22-inch Swish knocker. And these are fantastic cymbals. I think they're must-haves in a big band. And I use them with small group too. You just got to be careful with them, right? So this is a China cymbal. And it's a clone of Mel Lewis's famous China cymbal that he used on all the Thad Jones, Mel Lewis big band records and so many others. Playing live at the Village Vanguard in New York, he had this thing. It was described often as having a very hot and dry sound, and that's just due to the concave shape of this thing. China cymbals have a very trashy sound, a very, very low pitch, and seeing that it's also 22 inches in diameter, it's very loud, right? These were designed to cut through the big band, especially like in a high volume situation, like maybe during the shout chorus. And the 20 rivets that these come standard with these days really add some nice sustain as well. These also have a monstrous crash to them. Great alternative ride, great monster crash. They sound fantastic behind a sax solely, just due to their dark, trashy nature. It really complements that saxophone sound. Let me play it for you here, just by itself first, playing just a swing pattern on it. Right? Trashy, I know. These really are nice to play like in a shuffle when you want to get under the band and really drive them along. And then, again, nice monster crash if you're playing a really big accent or if you got a nice build coming up. Right? Yeah. So, these are my Zildjian pies that I use for jazz. I love them, and I love Zildjian company. And I encourage any of you, again, if you're looking for new cymbals out there, check out what Zildjian has to offer. They're the oldest family-owned business in America, and they're awesome. So that's all I have for right now, guys. Again, this is Cole Younger reporting in from Rhythm Section Studios. I'll be seeing you guys again real soon. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.